there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, and we're going to start today's show with something that I heard that kind of convicted me. Yeah, we're going to have a little church to start off the show today because, I don't know, sometimes you hear people talking and you're like, oh my God, are they talking about me? Like, are you literally looking through the camera at me while you're saying such things? And so I had sort of that sort of churchy conviction moment here, and I was like, oh my goodness, this makes me feel so, I don't know, kind of bad, really. It might have the same effect on you. You can stop playing the organ there, Garrett. Thank you. Erica Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk, you know, her husband was just assassinated. Was that 3? Yeah, almost 3 months ago. It'll be 3 months ago tomorrow. Weeks before he was assassinated, right in front of all our faces, this guy completed a book. Of all the stuff that he was doing, he had time to write a book. So what we have here is sort of I don't want to say the last will and testament of Charlie Kirk, but, you know, sort of his final thoughts before he was taken from us, and taken from us, you know, a little sooner than we all expected. But the book is about honoring the Sabbath. And I guess it has a religious tone. Obviously, I haven't read the book. I'm not going to pretend like I have. But a couple of people doing summaries of the book, this is what really punched me in the gut here. And again, maybe this doesn't apply to you, but it definitely applies to myself. Erica Kirk was on Fox News last night, and she was on the Fox and Friends this morning. And look, the co-host of Fox and Friends this morning read an excerpt from Charlie Kirk's new book that's coming out on taking Sundays off.
The Sabbath is God's answer to a culture spinning out of control. It is his ancient rhythm of sanity, planted like an anchor in a world swept away by currents of chaos. 6 days we work, build, create, engage. On the 7th day we stop, but not because we're weak. We stop because we're human. We don't rest because we're lazy. We rest because we're obedient.
Now, why choose that as your topic for a book? Well, I think the idea that you need to take some time off applies in 2025 far more than when it was written down in the Old Testament, far more than it's been observed through all of, you know, sort of the pastoral agrarian, isn't that what it's called? Sustenance farming history, where most of us are just trying to grow enough crops to not die every winter. You had a lot of downtime necessarily. You know, before electricity, you were limited in the amount of work you could do after the sun went down. If you were going to go somewhere, you spent long periods of time traveling, which means it's just you and your thoughts with no entertainment and no distractions, minimal distractions. If you were going to send a letter, you had to wait how many weeks to get it, how many weeks to respond, and they get it, and then they write back. And I guess God knew that one day we were going to have these monstrous devices in our pocket that can be forces for immeasurable good and for immeasurable harm. And I am one of the worst. We gripe about kids. All these teenagers, they got their face in their phone all day. You know who else does? I do. Not a big news flash there. I wouldn't be surprised if you did too. There was, who was that? Was that someone stopped by the Kroger Plano when I was doing the live broadcast last week? He's like, I don't even have my phone on me. I don't even have a smartphone. I've never had a smartphone. I'm already retired, and I have a flip phone whenever I need it, but I don't carry it around. Well, must be nice to be you. And I guess it's like cocaine. If you never had it, you don't know you need it. I bet you he never feels the need to pick up his phone every few minutes. And one of the terrible things that I've learned, they have parental controls on phones now. So if your kids are young, you should be using that. But it'll report to you how many times your kid just checks his phone, just like picks it up and turns it on and looks at it. Hundreds of times. Hundreds. A day. You know what? Me too. That's where I'm convicted. So here's Erica Kirk talking on the Fox and Friends morning show, and this also hit me like a brick in the head.
This is how life used to be. You left the office at 5. No one could reach you.
Yes.
I mean, you had a beeper, but like no one could reach you until the next morning. But it's retraining the world you used to have blue laws. Like, it's retraining the world to say, okay, at 5 o'clock, unless it's an emergency, give me a phone call. I'm not going to respond to your text message. I'm with my babies. I'm putting the kids to bed. I'm spending time with my husband. I'm fixing the generational gap because I want to be able to show them rest and importance. You're a priority, not my office.
I am the worst about that too. I can't turn it off. I don't want to turn it off. I don't want to put it down. I want to check my phone. I like knowing what's going on. I like being in a meeting. And when Dan says, oh, yeah, Dallas Morning News just got bought out by who's that? And I say Hearst. And I know what I'm talking about. And he knows that I know what I'm talking about. And we know that we keep up with the world. I have a hard time putting it down because I don't want to put it down. I like my phone. My phone gives me so much joy. And it gives me all those sweet little dopamine hits when someone hits like on one of your posts or reshares it or, oh my goodness, look at that. Vince Vaughn follows me. I like it. I need this message more than you do. You can go back to, this is from Charlie Kirk at one of his events in June, talking about the topic of his book.
It says very, very clearly in the scriptures, for 6 days you shall work, and the seventh day you shall rest. If you are feeling overrun by society, you might be feeling depressed or anxious, here's this one way that you might be able to improve. Turn your phone off for 1 day. No contact, no social media, no work. Your mental health will improve dramatically. You can hang out with friends, you can go for a walk, but don't work for 1 day. That is a day for worship. That is a day for the Lord. That is a day to go be with God. That is a day to read your Bible and be out of the busyness and the hurriedness and the anger and the noise of this world.
I don't want to. I think my mental health's fine. I'm not depressed. I don't have suicidal ideation. I'm not sitting there woefully staring out the window wondering if there's any meaning to this whole life. I'm having a great time. I don't want to put my phone down. Someone talked me into this. Do I really need to put my phone down? Do I really need to take a day off? Who says I just can't work every day? Because in my view, there'll be plenty of time to sleep and rest when I'm dead. But I can't know more than the Bible. I can't know more than honor the Sabbath and keep it holy. I can't know more than the 10 Commandments. I've never even written anything on stone. But give me some advice. How do you unplug? First off, convince me to unplug because I don't want to. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. More on the message of unplugging once a week coming up on the James Show. But we're doing the 38th annual Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. We're in the final days here because if we're going to go out and buy all these presents and we got to hand them out before the schools are out for Christmas. So I think we're doing it next week. So I think we're cutting off donations this week. You still have a few days left to be a miracle worker, to be an angel for some kid and give them a Christmas they otherwise wouldn't have. Now, y'all done a good job stepping up, bringing in the toys to Sandpack Auto locations and our remotes. But what we really need now in the last few days so we can fill in the gaps of these Christmas lists is monetary donations. So go to WBAP.com, the WBAP app, or you can text and just do this over your evil phone. Text KIDS, KIDS, to 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, if I haven't talked you into getting Rhino Shield yet, maybe this will get your attention. Go to Google. Don't just listen to me. They're paying me to say nice things about them. It's a fine product, and I would say these nice things otherwise. But you don't have to trust me. Don't trust the goofy guy on the radio telling jokes. Go to Google. Look at some of the 5-star reviews. See if anyone is complaining about it. See if one person is telling you that, well, I put Rhino Shield on a few years ago, and now it's cracking. Now it's flaking. Now it's peeling. Doesn't happen. Go check yourself. See if anybody said, oh, I got Rhino Shield 10 years ago. And I really preferred to pay more on my heating and cooling costs. I really miss those 90% of UV rays that are blocked. I wish they were just absorbing into my house like they used to before I had Rhino Shield. Is anyone saying that? Is anyone going on there and saying, "Oh, it's ugly. I don't like seeing the beautiful texture of my wood or rock or brick under through the Rhino Shield"? See if it's there. Don't just trust me. Yeah, in fact, you should follow up on any of these claims that you hear from any of the people anywhere in the media these days. But Rhino Shield will stand up to your scrutiny. Go do your research. Go to Google. Look at the 5-star reviews. And then give Gary a call. He's going to come out. He'll give you an estimate. He'll show you how the technology works, and then you'll really be convinced because it's like this nanotechnology ceramic thing. And he brings a jar out, and you can stick your finger in it, and it looks like liquid, but it comes out dry. It's the weirdest stuff. But it's pretty amazing as well. And you can see hundreds of your neighbors, thousands of your neighbors that have already gotten Rhino Shield, and they love it. So get your house what it really wants for Christmas. And if you do it before the end of the holidays, you get 20% off by mentioning The James Show. And if you want a little help making the payments along with the Christmas expenses, you can set up a monthly installment. So go to rhinoshielddfw.com, rhinoshielddfw.com. How often do you look at your phone? Are you looking at your phone right now? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You're home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins as well. They're cracking me up while I was getting ready for the James Show today. Sometimes I got to turn it off while I'm getting ready for the show because I end up just listening to them instead of doing my work. But that's the same kind of easily distracted personality that is the worst about the phone. And there's a book that's coming out by Charlie Kirk. It's the last book he wrote. Obviously, he's not going to be writing any more after this. But it's all about honoring the Sabbath. And I like this concept for a book because I think this applies now more than ever. You know, when you were a kid, you could only watch cartoons when cartoons were on. So from 3 p.m. until the news came on, and then on Saturday mornings, there was a nice little fun block there. Other than that, you had to find something else to do. Well, that's not how it works anymore. You have kids. When's the last time you had kids? They can watch cartoons whenever the hell they want. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the cartoons that ever existed are at the tip of their hand. And they can start on episode 1 at the beginning of the episode. It's amazing. Now, you and I didn't have to fight through that temptation when we were kids. This current situation, this current crop does. And I imagine every generation from here on out for the rest of human history will have to adapt to this new availability. But the technology's here. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. So we need to adapt. And one of the terrible things that has happened to us is we have just given up all of our free time. And when I say we, it's definitely me. You may be an angel. And if you're one of the people, this doesn't apply to me, well, congratulations. You're just better than the rest of us. Some of you don't want to admit it that you're bad about the phone. But I'll be the first one to say, yeah, I look at it all the time. And it was different when we were growing up because we didn't have cell phones at all. We had a landline. So if we weren't home, you couldn't call us. If you went to the mall, you were guaranteed everyone on the planet was going to leave you alone until you got home. We have none of that anymore.
This is how life used to be. You left the office at 5. No one could reach you.
Yes.
I mean, you had a beeper, but no one could reach you until the next morning. But it's retraining the world. You used to have blue laws. It's retraining the world to say, okay, at 5 o'clock, unless it's an emergency, give me a phone call. I'm not going to respond to your text message. I'm with my babies. I'm putting the kids to bed. I'm spending time with my husband. I'm fixing the generational gap because I want to be able to show them rest and importance. You're a priority, not my office.
Yeah, I just got to do better. That's all. We've got to figure out how we can not look at the news. We got to figure out how we can not see what our friends are doing. We have all the excuses. Well, I wanted to see if Granny was going to meet us, or do they know what time the soccer game is, or what time am I supposed to pick up my kid from the birthday party? Can you really put it down for an entire day? I'm not sure I can. I got to take my daughter to a volleyball tournament. And I think it's like in Waco or something this weekend. What am I going to do? Not get directions from my phone? Not coordinate, find out what time is going to be, the next game's going to be, or where we're meeting up for lunch, or who got pictures? Can you share them in the group chat? I don't know. I mean, for you people who can do that, that must be real nice. I don't even know if I can put it down for an entire Sunday. And that bothers me. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Yeah, well, Miss Parker's over here texting.
Hi, Miss Parker.
Thank you. She says, I need to put up the phone on Sundays. I'm setting a bad example for the kids. I mean, I guess I'm not looking at TikTok. I'm not looking at cat videos on YouTube. Okay, I'm rarely looking at cat. Okay, sometimes I'm looking at cat videos on YouTube. But some of it's legit. I don't know. It's fun watching because I'm a big fan of humans as a species. I'm a big fan of our capabilities and our ability to adapt to all the new technology that we've already absorbed. It's just tough watching us go through this one because I'm really doing a poor job at it. This is James and Godly. Hey, James, you're on WBAP. Go.
Yes, James. I can vouch that I put my phone down on the Sabbath from 6 p.m. Friday evening to 6 p.m. Saturday evening.
So you're Jewish?
No, people ask that question, especially my children. But if I was Jewish, I have a Jewish mother.
Well, your
So I'm
children
not-
should know. But I know I have Jewish friends and they observe the Sabbath. And like sometimes when we have Debbie Schlussel on, she can't be on past sundown on a Friday. And so that's the only thing I know about that. I'm really no scholar in the subject.
Right. But I'm telling you, James, it changed we've been doing it for 5 years, okay? We don't answer the phone. We don't do anything. We don't watch no type of TV. We'll watch Christian television. My wife and I will pray together. We talk about the things of God. I mean, it's so refreshing. I mean, we get a lot of rest. We get the best rest that we've had all week long. I mean, I
James,
usually get about 7.
do you take my excuse of I have 4 kids and they all have things to do? Someone's got a soccer game or someone was in a play this weekend. We have Christmas band concerts for 3 of the kids coming up this week. I mean, can I use them as an excuse? Can I at least say, I can't do that? I have kids. I mean, how do I do that with kids? Or does that just sound like a BS excuse to you?
It's hard to do because I got 4 kids, but they're all grown and gone. I'm up in age, but it's one of those things where you have to start off young and pretty much teach them because so much activities is going on, just like soccer practice, whatever the case may be, and it's kind of hard to break that mold. It's hard to do.
All right. Well,
I mean,
keep an eye on me and keep telling me. I know that's good advice, and I wish I could follow it. I'm just wildly undisciplined. I have issues with impulse control, and I think I'm addicted to the phone. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. And what could possibly be the complaint about this? You'll hear from one of the Erica Kirk critics next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, and I am a phone addict. And so this new book that's coming out by Charlie Kirk, where it's talking about observing the Sabbath, what I hear in this is put your damn phone down for one day. I don't think I can do it. So a bunch of people are fussing at me. Miss Parker's fussing at me. The callers are fussing at me. And I'm just, hey, at least I'm admitting. I think some of you are out there like, yeah, kids have their face in the phone all day. They check their phone on the phone all the time. And you are too. And I know some of you aren't, but I'm not the only bad person here. But Erica Kirk was on Fox News last night and on Fox and Friends this morning. And another thing, besides just Charlie Kirk saying we should observe the Sabbath and take a day off and don't do any work, just focus on God and your family, mental health, calming down. She also added in the sort of the technological aspect of it that makes this message more relevant than it has been through all of human history, more relevant now than when it was written, because things are different now.
This is how life used to be. You left the office at 5. No one could reach you.
Yes.
I mean, you had a beeper, but like no one could reach you until the next morning. But it's retraining the world. You used to have blue laws. Like, it's retraining the world to say, okay, at 5 o'clock, unless it's an emergency, give me a phone call. I'm not going to respond to your text message. I'm with my babies. I'm putting the kids to bed. I'm spending time with my husband. I'm fixing the generational gap because I want to be able to show them rest and importance. You're a priority, not my office.
Yeah, do we need to bring back blue laws? So in the terrible political polarization that we live under, anything that Erica Kirk says because of who her husband was, there's going to be someone out there to criticize it. Anything Donald Trump says, someone's going to criticize it. Anything you say, someone's probably going to criticize it. You may be wondering, though, how could someone possibly criticize Erica Kirk in this situation or for that message? I'll bring you an example. This is an influencer who has more followers than she should, Jennifer Welch.
So this is intentional weaponization of her gender and her faith. And she is a grifter. And just look at the costume changes. Look at the costume changes. Look at the affect and how she does that. It's wild. This woman should be kicked to the curb. She is an absolute grifter, just like Donald Trump and just like her unrepentant, racist, homophobic husband was.
She sounds fun at parties, doesn't she? 800-288-9227 if you have any advice for me on how I can finally put this phone down, because I'm just as addicted as the kids are. This is Reggie in Dallas. You're on WBAP.
Hey, James.
Hey, Reggie.
I know you're a Christian, and I know you probably know that there were different covenants in the Old Testament. God had a covenant with Adam, with Abraham, with Daniel, and others. And we're not under the Old Testament. We're not under the Old Covenant. We're under the New Covenant. And the New Covenant does not require us to keep the Sabbath. I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Well, look, some of that was addressed in the New
New
Testament. Remember when they were walking through the field and they were doing the thing where you were gleaning from the crops that had already been harvested, trying to get a few grains to eat, and they got fussed because they were technically working on the Sabbath. And he's like, look, bro, we don't have to follow these stupid laws anymore. And I agree with you. I'm not going to go to hell because I don't observe the Sabbath. But just like everything else that's in the 10 Commandments, it's still probably, solid advice, even though it's not technically under the current covenant from which we all have to live under. Because, thou shalt not murder. Still pretty good advice. Thou shalt not steal. Well, we should probably follow that one too. Honor your father and mother, all that other good stuff, not have idols. So, yeah, the honor the Sabbath and keep it holy, even though technically we're not under that covenant, it's still probably good advice. Wouldn't you agree to that?
I would agree. I would agree to it in some aspects, but in today's culture, American culture, you have a five-day work week for most people. Others have a 4-day work week, and then there's some like traveling nurses that have a 3-day work week. So I don't see it, the benefit there. You follow me?
I do, but look, I've got 7 days out of every week to go out and make money, and I have a hard time putting one of those down too. Thank you very much, Reggie. I appreciate it. Let's go to Jeff in Fort Worth. Hey, Jeff, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James. I was just listening to your show.
And here a few weeks ago, my family and my wife and I went to New York City together. I accidentally left my phone in my pickup in the park. Yeah,
Sorry.
in the that's okay. In the parking lot there at the airport. It was amazing how well I did without my phone for 5 or 6 days. The only thing I had to worry about was not getting lost and separated from them in New York City.
Well, that's different when you have someone standing next to you with a phone. But yeah, boy,
maybe.
whenever I go out of the house without my phone these days, I feel like I'm not wearing pants. Like I feel so exposed and naked, and like I don't know how I'm going to get home, even though I lived the majority of my life without a cell phone. Thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate that story. All right, we're rolling through the 38th annual Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. We're in the home stretch now. We started off a little slow, but we've been making up pretty good ground. Do not let off the gas. You've been telling yourself, oh, I'm going to make a donation when I get a chance. I'll make a donation before it's over. We'll stop putting it off because we're running out of days. We need to take that money. We need to go buy the toys that are on the list that weren't already donated. And then we're going to take them next week to Charles Nash Elementary in Fort Worth and Martin Luther King Jr. Arts Academy here in Dallas. And it's with the help of our friends at the Sampac Auto Dealership, the Dan Harker and the Empower Home team. Thank you very much to them for helping us out. Kroger helped us out, a couple of remotes, and dropped off a lot of toys there. So do not forget about the kids. You have a couple days left to make a donation. Just go ahead and make it now. Go to WBAP.com, the WBAP app, or you can text KIDS to 800-288-9227. KIDS, KIDS, to 800-288-9227. All right, coming up next, Arlington is looking at getting rid of their gay laws. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Do you know Arlington has gay laws? I know it sounds stupid when you put it like that, but it's true. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. They were cracking me up before the show today. If you like me, you'll definitely like them. Give them a shot. But yeah, so Arlington's having a very important meeting tonight to decide if they're going to continue being gay. I mean, not exactly. WFAA can say it better.
Yeah, it is a decision that many cities across North Texas are facing after an executive order from President Donald Trump threatened to strip funding from any city that continues DEI.
Later today, Arlington could become one of the first cities in the U.S. to remove protections for LGBT residents. Brittany Moncrief is live from City Hall. And Brittany, there's a big campaign to stop this from happening.
That's right. You know, flyers and hundreds of texts have gone out in Arlington. And what's on the line? The protection of LGBTQ plus rights and the likely costs. Now, the city of Arlington currently has an ordinance that bans discrimination based on gender identity and sexual orientation. But a new proposal would get rid of that language entirely. Now, the reason is to protect more than $60 million in federal funding. And according to city documents, if Arlington gets legal opinion, those LGBTQ plus protections would be stripped. However, the city's mayor says his goal is to save those protections while also balancing costs.
I want everybody in Arlington to feel like we're taking care of them. I really do. But I have to take care of them financially as well.
So Arlington is going through what a lot of towns are going through right now. Donald Trump says if you have DEI programs that are taxpayer funded, you can either have that or this federal money that we were going to give you anyway. Now, I got to do my stupid libertarian caveats here before we can even have this discussion. And no, I don't think we should be getting federal money as a city from, obviously the federal government. I don't think cities should be getting money from the federal government. I don't care if it's for good intentions because it's misused. And this is a misuse of that power. You're going to take money from the people of Arlington, run it through DC, and we'll give it back to you if and only if you follow these rules. Well, congratulations. You just played yourself. They took your money and now they're making you dance to get it back. That's not right. However, in the world that we have to live in, where this is a thing, Arlington definitely should get rid of the laws, but just the reporting around it, the discussion around it, I don't get it at all. Oh, we're stripping your rights away. What can they not do tomorrow that they can do today? I'm assuming they're going to get rid of the laws at the meeting after the James show's over. Is there anything different in your life tomorrow, whether you have those laws on the books or not? What changes? Does anything change whatsoever? Because this is the kind of thing they talk about when they're attacking the LGBT community. We're stripping their rights away. Stripping your rights away. Is there a law that says you can't discriminate against straight white guys? No? Well, are my rights stripped away? Do I still have my full complement of human rights? Yes. So why do you need like a special mention in the law? You know, discrimination just means judgment. The word discrimination just means judgment. We all have agreed that for the most part, racial discrimination is bad. Not always. You know, you might not want to try and spend your ad dollars in the black community if you're running a tanning salon, you know, but making a judgment about people's value based on their race, we've all agreed that form of discrimination is wrong. But any and all discrimination is not wrong. So I find it interesting that these laws got passed into being to begin with. I don't understand how they changed anything. Oh, I went for a job and they didn't give it to me. Why? Because I'm gay. How do you know? Did they tell you it's because you're gay? And if they are that horrible of a human being, do you really want to force them to employ you? I don't get any of it. I don't get why you're upset that these laws are going away. I don't understand what changed before these laws, during these laws, and after these laws. What is different for your life? Because to me, it looks like nothing. But here we are. I'll see if they pass it tonight. If they do, we probably won't even talk about it. If they don't, now we have a real interesting discussion, because once you answer the questions, what's different about your life before these laws, during these laws, and if these laws were to be repealed, then you got to ask, is it really worth giving up the millions and millions of federal funding that's coming your way? Is it really that important to you? You better be able to tell me how your life is different if you're going to be slapping millions of dollars away from the people of your city over this. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Again, not trying to be a butthead. I just don't get how this changes anything. All right, have you heard of the Satch Vai Band? It's a portmanteau. Joe Satriani, Steve Vai. They took their last names and smushed them together. And they're on tour. It's called the Surfing with the Hydra 2026 tour. It will be at Music Hall at Fair Park on April 17th. You can get tickets and information at livenation.com or listen to the WBAP Morning Show this week to find out how you could win a pair of tickets. They gave them away on, what year is it? This morning, I heard that part. So listen to WBAP Morning Show or go to livenation.com. Coming up next on The James Show, Jasmine's in the race, and we're going to have a lot of fun with the audio. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. It's official. Jasmine is in the race. It's the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Thank you very much for hanging out. And the show that happened around Jasmine Crockett's announcement was pretty amusing. She had a bunch of people come out and they got to speak for 3 minutes. And I know because they would talk for, I was recording it and I could see on my little audio feed here that they talked for 3 minutes and then they would start playing music and the music get louder and louder and they would run people off with the music. Well, one of the things that was cracking me up is during one of the walk-offs, it was like this drum playing, like the bongos are playing. And I recognized that. They were playing Gil Scott-Heron. Are you familiar with this guy? He was a blacktivist in like the 60s and he did like spoken word poetry. Like you go to the world's worst poetry slam where, I don't know, everyone hates white people, I guess. But if you're not familiar with him, my favorite Gil Scott-Heron piece of work is Whitey on the Moon. Love that. So check this out. This is what was playing at Jasmine.
You will not be able to stay home, brother.
All right. So that wasn't audio I was playing from his album. That was from Jasmine's rally last night. Fun stuff. And then she had a bunch of people. I don't think you would recognize most of them, but a lot of them kind of talk like this.
Events, and I'm there with them. I tell them, I say, hey, I'm part of y'all. She care about the people. She care about our well-being. She care about the community. It's not about money with her. It's about what can we do to make it better for us as a community. We need someone like that look out for us.
Ladies
It's
and
been 3
gentlemen,
minutes. Get out of here.
help us welcome.
Isn't that funny how they walk these people off? I mean, they just put 3 minutes. They started playing the music. They ramped it up quick on her. But now it's always the excitement builds because what Jasmine are you going to get today? Are you going to get private school Jasmine? Or are you going to get street Jasmine? So she went back and forth. There was code switching within her own little 30-minute intro speech. But it started out with the fun version of Jasmine Crockett.
Now, there are those that say, ain't no way we done tried it 50 kinds of ways. Let me be clear. Y'all ain't never tried it the JC way. We used to telling us what I can't do, but they have no idea what Crockett's crew will do. And so I just want to be clear for all the haters in the back. Listen up real loud. We gonna get this thing done.
Yes, that is for all the haters in the back. For all the haters in the back. We gonna get this thing done. Now, I know that most people are listening either to give you the best report to make her look awesome, or they're listening and they're going to report on this to play the stuff that makes her sound the dumbest or least likable. I'm going to do a little bit of both. I'm going to try and be fair here because, look, she actually did talk about some policy. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I was looking really for the reason she was going to say she jumped in the race. Because here's the truth. The reason she jumped in the race is because she polls better than Colin Allred. The Democrat powers that be, the people who actually pull the strings and control the funding behind the scenes knew that. And I don't know why necessarily. Maybe it's the accents, but there is no doubt she's a much bigger name. She's going to do better at the polls than Colin Allred ever would because she has been in the media so much. She's been on the weekend shows so much. But also, Colin Allred, when you talk like this and like a white guy.
I was raised by a single mom. Mom was a public school teacher who often worked 2 jobs to make ends meet. So when we talk about lowering costs, when we went to the grocery store when I was growing up and swiped the debit card and said a little prayer. But my mom and my community in Texas gave me a chance to chase my version.
No. Look, Colin, that's not going to work. You're conjugating all your verbs correctly. You're saying all the consonants at the end of your words. You don't sound ignorant. You're not purposely dumbing yourself down. That's not what sells these days, Colin. You're going to have to dumb it down a little bit. And make no mistake, I don't think Jasmine Crockett's dumb, but she definitely dumbs it down in certain scenarios for certain audiences. And the truth is, it works. But here's her motivation.
I'm done. I'm done watching the American dream on life support while Trump tries to pull the plug. The gloves have been off, and now I'm jumping into the ring. I'm asking for your support to be the next United States Senator from the greatest state of Texas.
Yeah, and the question here is, if you're wondering, there is a little bit of doubt that's floating in your mind, because why would she go run for this seat that she's probably not going to win, rather than just stay in Congress and continue being a Democrat congressman? Well, first off, her district got drawn out. So if she's going to stay in Congress, she would probably have to boot an existing incumbent Democrat. Now, she could do that and continue to be where she's at, but that's not what's good for the Democrat Party overall. Look, we already have that seat. We don't need to waste this hot item, because she's hot right now. Trendy, the lot of media appearances. They don't need to waste that and kick out some other incumbent who could be a seat filler vote for us. Why is she really running? My theory? Hey, maybe she wins. She's probably going to lose, but she's going to get so much media attention. She's going to be on MSNBC and CNN and ABC, NBC, CBS, and 60 Minutes, and everyone's going to be covering her at some point over the next year. And then after the 2026 Senate campaign proves to be a loser, she will start in the 2027 Democrat primary process, and she'll be on the debate stage in 2027. Mark it. That is the trajectory I see. Now, let's go to the part where there's actual policies, and I'm not going to have Garrett play the organ over this stuff. Well, this is the part we need to take serious, because for the people who actually want it more than an emotional pull, what is drawing these people? What makes them think that someone like Jasmine Crockett would govern the country better than whoever she's running against? And so there's a long, it's like 2 or 3 minutes. So we'll cover that coming up in the next segment. You know, look, we had fun with her. Let's give it an honest run through of the policies and see what you think about her coming up next. But it's the 38th annual Cumulus Kids Toy Drive happening. This is the final week of You to Make a Difference. And a lot of other neighbors of yours have already stepped up and donated. It's your turn. We're not asking for much. I'm assuming you don't have much. But what about $20? Do you have $20? Have you done anything for needy kids in North Texas? Have you done anything to help your fellow man this Christmas season? Look, I'm not trying to guilt trip you here. I'm just giving you the off ramp so you can do the right thing. Donate. Look, if all you have is $20, that's fantastic. You're an angel to some kid, because that $20 is the difference between them having a Christmas toy and them having nothing under the tree. Not everyone has parents. Not everyone has good parents. Some people are orphans. Some people are living in shelters. Some people have parents in jail, got killed in a car wreck. Doesn't matter how they got in this position. You can step up and make sure they have a present. Go to WBAP.com, the WBAP app, or text KIDS, KIDS, to 800-288-9227. More Jasmine Crockett in her intro speech last night coming up on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, football fans, James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. Is your team in a bowl? Is your team in the college football playoffs? Looking at you, Aggies. Looking at you, Raiders. Well, you're already going to be watching these games. It's the biggest game they've been in a long time. Why don't you make it even more fun? And when your team wins, you can win too with the Prize Picks app. Download Prize Picks, make a lineup of 2 to 6 players, and they have them. Whatever your team is, they have just about anything you could imagine as far as sports goes on this app. I mean, it has sports I've never even heard of. It has esports. It has all the basketballs. Like some of these, what is this, like a European league? They have people playing darts. They have people playing handball. So you know they have the Aggies. You know they have the Raiders. They have you covered for the college bowl season, the playoff season. So you make a lineup of 2 to 6 players. Go look at them, look at their stats, and you pick more or less. It really is that simple. America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Millions of daily users, billions in awarded prizes. I got a nice chunk of that myself. And you can be the next. Download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code WBAP. You get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Download Prize Picks. Use promo code WBAP. Get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, what did Jasmine say this time? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Last night, she said a lot. There's not a whole lot of chances. In fact, when's the last time we ever heard Jasmine Crockett sit down and talk for 30 minutes straight? I'm sure it's happened before, but I can't think of the last time. And so a lot of it was showboating. A lot of it was talking about how, Trumpers are evil and stupid and got it. But I wanted to actually give her a fair shot and look at the meat and bones because, whatever's in the package, not nearly as important as how they govern. When we talk about, when she affects an accent, or when we talk about her appearance or what she was wearing, or she was dressed like the witch from Wicked or whatever, doesn't really matter. For all of those complaints or just those highlights, if they voted the way I wanted to, if they supported the policies, if she supported the policies I preferred, I would vote for someone like Jasmine Crockett in a second. If Jasmine Crockett switched, and she very well might on a long enough time scale, that's one of my theories, I would have no problem voting for Jasmine Crockett if and only if she starts supporting free market capitalism and generally the Constitution as envisioned by the Founding Fathers and yada, yada, yada. So we'll try and go through most of this. It takes a long time, though, because we'll do the start-stop thing. But I just wanted to be fair and have like sort of a non-comedic version of what the heck did Jasmine Crockett say this time?
Jasmine Crockett, queen of the liberal tea.
Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Governor Hot Wheels. And he is a hot ass mess, honey.
Queen of the liberal tea.
Last night, Jasmine Crockett on policy.
My agenda is affordability, it's healthcare, it's energy independence, it's American manufacturing, it's protecting our natural resources, it's providing the best education to every child and not saddling them with lifelong debt in the process.
All right, so let's go ahead and admit something right here. For as much as you people bicker back and forth, you have more in common than you like to admit. And when I say you people, I'm talking about Democrats and Republicans. Because I hear from Democrats on how Republicans are stupid and evil and worshiping Trump like a cult. And then I got to hear from Republicans how Democrats are evil and they think men can have babies and they're stupid. Well, if you're like an independent sort of third party guy, you people actually are closer to siblings who, because you're so familiar with each other, you have this hatred that just shouldn't be there. I think most of us want the same things. I think most of us want what she just mentioned. We want affordable schools. We want affordable housing. We want safety, prosperity, a good economy. We just differ on how to get there. And that's one of the reasons I find the laughable, the claims, oh, they're fascist, racist, Nazi, bigot, homophobe. Well, they're very much like you. But anyway, I'll let her continue because it's the same reason like I like Jon Stewart. I like The Daily Show. Even though I disagree. For half of it, I think it's hilarious. Because they're right when they diagnose the problems. Healthcare is too expensive. College is too expensive. Housing could be more affordable. We just differ on how to get there.
When prices are lower, the dollar goes further. Consumers have more confidence in spending power. Businesses thrive and our economy is healthy.
All right. Now that kind of sounds like me. However, I would usually follow that up, and she doesn't, with saying, which means we need to balance the budget, which means we need to stop printing more money to fill in a deficit between what we spend and what we take in as far as taxes goes. I would really even recommend we end the fiat currency system and go back to the gold standard so we couldn't do this even if we wanted to. It's proven to be a failure, but no, there's not a whole lot of monetary policy. For her, fighting prices and preserving the spending power of the dollar involves more social programs.
The more people that are insured, the less healthcare will cost for all of us.
See, again, that's an economic argument, and she's wrong. The more people are insured, the rest it'll cost for all of us. People are more insured than ever, and costs are higher than ever. In fact, when we had less people insured, costs were lower. History has told us the exact opposite of what she just said. But again, that's an economic argument. That's not she's a bad person or she's a Nazi or I think she's stupid or there's nothing racist, sexist, bigot, homophobic about it. This is just boring old dollars and cents.
If we spend on preventative care, we can save way more instead of waiting until somebody is sick.
That's not necessarily true either.
When we invest in clean energy, your utility bill goes down. When we build more housing, the rents and mortgages come down.
Agreed.
When we have more affordable childcare, Head Start, and universal pre-care, then families will have that huge burden lifted from them.
Disagree so much. Where do they come up with this? You know, we do have many communities with universal pre-K, with childcare programs. Is it getting better results? Oh, it's not? Well, were we having more babies back when there was no such thing as pre-K, much less universal pre-K, when there was no Head Start programs? You realize when we didn't have any of these programs, birth rates were higher, families were bigger. In fact, before public schools, families were bigger. If you want bigger families, don't institute the policies that coincided with their downfall.
Childcare has become a second rent. Y'all say amen if you got children, because y'all know I ain't got none. I heard they expensive. You can tell when she goes off script because she's not looking at the teleprompter. She just looks ahead, starts forgetting how to conjugate verbs again. It's fun to watch. My whole platform is rooted in my belief that life should be more affordable for those who make America run. It's centered around opportunity and a fair shake to work hard, get ahead, and have a chance to earn your dream no matter your story.
See, one thing I want you to take away from this is how she is not a Bernie Sanders. She is not an AOC. She is not a firebrand Marxist. I think that this is a woman who is sort of in that Bill Clinton wing of the Democrat Party. And that's a good thing. If they're just saying whatever they have to say to stay in power, to gather power, to get the most votes, then that's almost like if we can just convince the American people in polls and whatnot to swing our way, she'll swing with us. And let's not forget the last time Congress got together and decided that we're going to cut spending and balance the budget was under Bill Clinton. Now, it carried through into the first year of the Bush administration. But this is not a bad Democrat. There are plenty that are much worse than her. It's going to be fun for me as a talk radio host because she is so good at giving us sound bites. But it doesn't matter. She's not going to win the Senate race. You're going to see a whole bunch of ads and media time for her. And I want you to remember that I predicted this when you see her on the debate stage in the 2027 Democrat primaries. But now it's official. She's in. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, the Dallas Express has some exclusive inside info on what's really going on with the Venezuelan boat strikes. And no, this is not all about drugs. You'll hear from Chris Putnam, Dallas Express, next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. What's really going on with Venezuela? The drug boat strikes are interesting because I have a feeling that when we go revisit this in a few months from now, I don't know, maybe a year or two from now, we'll know what this really was about. Because I can tell you what it's not about. It's not about drugs. It's not about keeping fentanyl off the streets of our hometowns. How do I know that? Well, because you wouldn't be hitting the boats from Venezuela first. You'd probably start with Colombia or Mexico, wouldn't you? Colombia, the biggest producer and launch point for the drugs. Mexico, the trafficker of first resort. Usually the last one to touch the drugs before they get into the United States. But we're starting with Venezuela. Why is that? So we know it's not about drugs. And the running theory goes, and Dallas Express is not afraid to say this. The thought process is this is all about regime change for Maduro. Now, Maduro's been a thorn in the side of the United States. I kind of enjoy having one of the great textbook examples on how socialism can take the wealthiest country in Latin America and make it among the least wealthy countries in Latin America. And that's a bold statement because Latin America is not filled with economic success stories. But if it's not about drugs and it's about Maduro, why the drugs? Well, Maduro and Venezuela are gifted by sitting on top of the world's largest proven oil reserves. And that's kind of a jimmied number, but officially speaking, yes, Venezuela has largest proven oil reserves, bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia, bigger than the United States. I don't know if they actually have more than we do. We just haven't tapped all of our reserves and measured them yet. But that being said, the obvious source of wealth for a country like Venezuela, oil industry, the problem is they nationalized all the oil platforms and infrastructure that American and, well, to be fair, British and Dutch companies had built down there too. And that's how it goes for a lot of third world countries. Oh, look, we have all these mineral resources, but we don't have the technology to take advantage of it. So some enterprising capitalist pig in a first world country will go out there. They'll build them the infrastructure. They'll extract the minerals, whether it's, coal or oil or cobalt or whatever the heck it is. They'll show them how to do it, make the money do it, and then they seize it and kick them out. That's where Aramco came from, the Saudi Arabian oil company. And then what usually happens after that, we've seen this over and over in almost every developed country it's been tried. They will seize the infrastructure. They will seize all the oil platforms offshore and all the drilling fields on the land, the pipelines to distribute it, the refining factories to make it something that you can actually do something with. And then it starts to degrade. And then what happens after a few years of this, when the production starts to go down and they can't get it to come back up and it's in a downward spiral, is they will go back to these countries that built the infrastructure for them to begin with, from whom they stole it, and they will hire some of the engineers back to come maintain it and show them how to fix this stuff and get it going right again. The problem Venezuela has is they can't go back to America and the Netherlands and England and say, hey, all this great oil infrastructure you built it. Can we have some engineers? Can we just hire a few of your nerds to come tell us how to fix this? Because why? Venezuela and the United States and Britain are not getting along very well. So Venezuela now has this problem, declining oil revenue. They're not ever going to get it back up without help from the West. And so in order to supplement their income, they've gotten into the drug game. Well, the drug game is easy. It's quite lucrative. And now some suspect that it's their primary source of income, keeping the Maduro regime afloat. And so what Dallas Express is uncovering, they have some inside sources that they swear that they believe, or at least they're reporting like, hey, this seems pretty believable. But it's not a coincidence so many Tren de Aragua members ended up in certain communities in America. Because you may ask yourself, look, you're caught up in a cartel. You're caught up in gang violence. You're just a regular old street soldier hustling dope in Caracas. Are you really going through the visa process? Are you really trying to get your green card? Are you really qualifying for an H-1B visa? Are you really you're networking through your business associates and getting sponsored for a job that can get you into the United States? Or is there just some program where we were importing people from countries and the countries themselves looks like they got to choose who they sent? Okay, so if you assume that, then the next step is if you're Maduro and you're trying to get a bigger market share from the biggest drug consumer in the world, the United States. Hey, we're number one when it comes to drugs. Who would you send? Well, you certainly wouldn't send your petroleum engineers. But if your number one business is drugs, wouldn't you send Tren de Aragua? Wouldn't you send gang members? Wouldn't you send the people who are running the drug game now so they can more efficiently and easily take your product from Venezuela and distribute it and take up more market share from, I don't know, the Colombians, the Peruvians, anyone else who you're competing against? And once you put all these pieces of the puzzle together, it makes sense. No, this isn't about oil. And this isn't about drugs. This is kind of about immigration and drugs, sort of. But it's really getting at one thing: regime change. Dallas Express is reporting that recruiting for the Venezuelan military has gone through the roof. They swore in 5,600 new soldiers last week. And now you're seeing another strange behavior pattern. Maduro himself. He's got as these socialist dictators will do, they have the propaganda posters, they have the mottos, they have the slogans, they have the sayings. And his is no war, yes peace. And what Maduro did is he took an excerpt from one of his speeches and he had it remixed into a song. Check this out. It's annoying, but
war, yes peace, forever, forever, forever. Decirle al pueblo de Estados Unidos, no a la guerra.
No war.
No queremos una guerra en el Caribe ni en Sudamérica. No. Not war.
So what he's saying here is like, this is a message to the people of America. And I think he says, I want a number 4 Taco Grande or something like that. I'm kidding. But no, it's no war, no peace. Clearly, English isn't his first language, and he's painfully put this together. But James, why are you playing me this stupid song? Well, I can explain why.
¿Cómo se dice en inglés?
Yeah, I don't know how you say that in English is what he just said there. So now what he does is he goes and he does speeches, and that little spoken word part you hear at the beginning, he ends his speeches with that, and then they just kick in the remix, and then he starts doing the Trump dance, where he takes the two fists and he pumps them back and forth like an internal combustion piston. So here he is using the song at a speech last week. Look at this level of propaganda. It's pretty smart.
De todas las universidades de Estados Unidos, con el movimiento estudiantil venezolano, en una sola voz para decir, war, no, no war, yes, peace.
See, you hear on the speakers, they start voluming up.
No queremos una guerra en el Caribe ni en Sudamérica. No, not war, yes, peace. No a la guerra loca.
Okay, so now he's off the microphone and he's just on stage and he's doing the Trump dance. This is how he ends his speeches now. He made a remix of one of his own speeches. It's a dance remix or reggaeton or whatever this is. And he's kind of in English, has this no to war, yes to peace, and he does the song. I don't know, that's kind of funny. That cracks me up. This is the guy who we're going to go to war against? Someone wants to go to war. Don't mark me on that, but I think that's what we're all getting at here. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. We're doing the Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. It's the 38th annual Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. We have just a few days left to make donations. And I want you to stop putting it off. You've heard me talk about this for a couple weeks now. And you're like, I'll do that. I think I'm going to do it this year. Well, do it now. I'm not asking for a whole lot. $20. You got $20? Go to WBAP.com. There's the link to where you can donate in the headline rotator. You can go to the WBAP app. You'll find it real easy there on the front. Or you can text KIDS, KIDS, to 800-288-9227. KIDS to 800-288-9227 and bring a Christmas miracle to some kid in North Texas. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. The ratings are already in. Apparently, there's a lot of people out there in North Texas who love their show, and maybe you could be next if you haven't listened to them already. They're on from 11 to 2 before me. My next guest coming in from the Dallas Express, their CEO, Chris Putnam. Chris, welcome back. I was just referencing some of your reporting in the previous segment about the Venezuelan boat strikes, and so you seem to have a source that other outlets don't have. What is your inside track on this story? So on DallasExpress.com, y'all have a story how Maduro exported Tren de Aragua to the U.S. How did he? So I hear you on that. We're talking with Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express. So my theory is these strikes on the drug boats aren't really about drugs. They're about regime change for Venezuela. And, you know, Trump even hinted at the end of last week that, hey, we may be doing some drug strikes on land soon. Do you see this escalating, and do you think regime change is the true goal? All right. Well, good work at the Dallas Express, and I appreciate your time for being on the show again. This is Chris Putnam. You can find his work, DallasExpress.com, and the Dallas Express app. Thank you, sir. Hey, when are you going to be in the White House press pool again? Man. Oh, okay. It just seems really weird. You'd have the ability to go into the White House, and you're like, oh, I'll go back next month. No big deal. But no, that makes sense. All right, you make it that now it sounds boring. Thank you very much. That's Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express. Coming up next on the James Show, a proposed law in Iowa would make fathers pay for 50% of pregnancy costs. Why not 100? We'll talk about that next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 829 33 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Hey, look at that. Erica Kirk is guest co-hosting on the 5 today. My next story comes out of Iowa. And I don't know, we have to discuss this because I like where the idea of this is coming from. But I also at the same time think it shouldn't happen and doesn't go far enough. So just work with me here. You can tell I'm still struggling with this in my head somehow. But, I saw this reported on Fox News. And I don't know, it just made me think about it. When I was making dinner last night, I was thinking about this. But a House Republican in Iowa, her name is Ashley Hinson, a Republican, not that it matters here. She has unveiled a bill called the Supporting Healthy Pregnancy Act, which means pregnant mothers would get financial supports from the father even before the child is born. It would make them be on the hook for 50% of pregnancy costs. So 50% out of pocket for medical expenses associated with pregnancy and delivery, including health insurance premiums. All right. I like the idea that the guy should be involved if he is going to create a baby. I really do. I like that. I don't think it should be a law, but I think the intent behind this law is noble. But once you admit that, it's kind of embarrassing. It's embarrassing for both people involved. Because for the guy, if you are forced to pay 50% of out-of-pocket costs for medical expenses associated with the pregnancy you caused, you're a bad person. Yeah, I don't think you're taking your fatherly responsibilities very serious if you weren't going to pay at least 50%. I think he should pay 100%. I think he should at least offer to pay 100%. Maybe he's unemployed and going through a rough patch, or maybe she's independently wealthy and it's not really that big of a deal. But it's embarrassing for both sides. Number one, if you're a guy, I just assume you have the same instincts the rest of us do. You father a kid. Like when I got Miss Parker pregnant for the first time, I didn't want to be in a different room than her. I didn't want to be separated from her for any more than I could stand. And I'm just blown away. You probably are too, because you weren't raised like that. But these guys that go get a woman pregnant and then never show up again, these guys that aren't there for the birth of their kids, these guys that don't even have a relationship whatsoever with their kids. You know who I really hear it from? I really hear it from the divorced dads who somehow have lost custody or gotten minimal custody, and their ex uses their kids as a weapon to punish him, and he would give anything to spend more time with his kids. And then you have these bastards out here who are just, and I mean literally, who are being ignored by their fathers. That's heartbreaking stuff. When we talk about what's going wrong in the community or in society or with crime or with education, so much of it comes back to this moment, this obligation. And if it's not morally obligated, having it legally obligated, I guess could work out better for some situations. But also think about that from the woman's side. How terrible is that? You just decided to procreate with a guy who doesn't even have an interest in joining you in the process. You have just been impregnated by a guy who pretty much wants nothing to do with you. You know, it's tough for so many people that have kids, they get married, they have kids, and they've got to find out eventually over the years that maybe they didn't marry their soulmate. Maybe this isn't the perfect couple. Maybe if they had to do it all over again, they would have chosen someone different. But they stick it out, the old stay together for the kids, or we'll just work through whatever, or I'm not giving up, or I'm going to honor my vows. There's some sort of nobility, some sort of dignity in that. Although, maybe sort of a miserable existence. But just abandoning, that's worse. That's terrible. And so I feel so sorry for the women out there who get knocked up by some guy who then discards them and their child like trash. Good God. So the other thing, if you want to like take the emotion out of this, you want to take the societal moral obligations out of this and just look at this legally, it's kind of a hard law to write. What counts as an out-of-pocket medical expense? They were sure to include health insurance premiums in there. So let me get this straight. If I go have another night at the club and I knock up some lucky lady or unlucky lady, really, if she finds out she's pregnant, she can immediately start clocking me to pay half of her health insurance premiums under this law. Yes. Now the payments must be formally requested by the mother before the father is legally obligated to make them. So if the mother wants to abandon the dad and just pay for it all herself, she has the right to do that. So this just sounds like child support beginning before birth. You got to share the cost of the child you created. And so legally speaking, I find this very interesting. We want the dad to be involved, but just financially. How about there's some sort of reciprocation? Because I think for the dads who pay all their child support and they actually pay it on time, or especially if they do above and beyond what the court mandates, there's no way they shouldn't have at least 50-50 custody. I also think the guy should be involved in other things before the child's born. What if we had a law? Would that be fair if we had a law that said before you go get an abortion, you have to get the dad to sign off on it too? You have to have both parents in agreement that we're going to kill their child? Because it's not just her kid. It's half his kid too. If he's going to be on the hook for the cost of the pregnancy, can he not also have a say-so if that same pregnancy is terminated? So one thing, I don't like the bill. I wouldn't support it, but I like the conversations it brings up. I like the way it makes people think. I like the questions it makes people ask. I like the answers that you necessarily have to give to some of these questions. But this lady's come up with a few good bills when you do a little more research on her. She had another bill that would mandate that pregnant women in higher education institutions know what rights and resources they have on campus in an effort to give them more options aside from abortions, which I thought that was interesting because they've always used academics and academia to push left-wing things, whether it's Title IX or the DEI office or whatever the latest protest is. But what about for, pregnancy options? Why don't we use the campus as a jumping ground for that ideological push? So what do you think about that? You like this law that says men should be on the hook for 50% of pregnancy costs, medical costs associated with pregnancies? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. All right, we are in the last few days of the 38th annual Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. And if you have an unwrapped present, brand new, that you like to donate, we're still taking those. But what we really need now is donations. This is how we make up for the lost ground. And we're almost made up. We had a slow start. I don't know what it was. It's been a rough year, I guess. But we need the monetary donations to go in and get the items on the Christmas list that weren't already donated. And so you may think, well, this doesn't feel like charity. I'm not actually going and buying a present. I'm not dropping it off anywhere. I'm just tapping some buttons on my phone and sliding some money across that I won't even miss. No, that's the right thing to do. Go to WBAP.com, go to the WBAP app, or you can text KIDS, KIDS, to 800-288-9227. Make a monetary donation that way. And be an angel. Make a Christmas miracle for one of your neighbor kids in North Texas. You got $20? That's all I'm asking. All right, your calls on this new Iowa proposal next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker, and we're talking about a proposed law in Iowa that says the father of the child would be responsible for half of the medical costs of a pregnancy, that he was a part of. I know what you've been doing. But, okay, I like the idea of the law, but it kind of breaks my heart that some guys have to be forced into participating in the process that they created. It's just their own child. No big deal. So what do you think about that? 800-288-9227. This is Christine in Denton. You're on WBAP. What's up, Christine?
Hey, James. How you doing? Just a quick question about that proposition. What about paternity? I know it's new and just in its inception, but how would paternity be proved, and when would this payment expect to be happened?
So you go to the girl and you say, okay, you're only ovulating, 2, maybe 3 days a month that you're fertile. Who are you with on these days? And if it's multiple people, now, I don't know, do we have like a flusy corollary to the law? I don't know how you would fix that, but
I don't know. It's just something I thought of. I mean, I would,
Well, this isn't Dr. Phil. I think most people know who the father's going to be. And how about this? Just on the fly, I think the flusy corollary would say, if you were with more than one man in that 48-hour period, y'all are all just going to have to go Dutch and split the bill until we figure out who the dad is.
That's what I was just wondering, when the payment would be expected to start. If it was just still in pregnancy or
pregnancy. No, it definitely starts in pregnancy. The mother requests the money. If he doesn't pay it, she can go to the authorities and they can. I don't know if they would garnish his paycheck or whatever. I don't know how the mechanics of it would work, but he would be.
As a girl, I like to say we're always right, but we're not. I have to be honest, we're not. So, I mean, I could see there's a lot of accusations flown out there, sadly, by a lot of women blaming men for things that they didn't do. So I'm so jaded. I hate to think that way, but it's just the thought I had. Wanted to share it with you.
Oh, absolutely. Women lie about that. But that's a good question. If the paternity issues come up, oh, man, how disappointing would you be in your daughter?
Yeah,
you have to go explain that.
I mean, how would they prove it? Would it be an amnio? I mean, that's another big cost. So
amnio, what is that, like a paternity test in utero?
Amniocentesis to get the DNA from the fetus.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. I've never heard that word before, but that's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
All right.
Just a thought.
Well, where were all these the free will and libertine women when I was in my 20s? Sam in Irving, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James. My only thought on this was kind of in line with your idea that, maybe tag it with needing the male to sign off on an abortion if that's what the lady wants. But to take it a step further, I was thinking, if she gets to have him pay for the baby, then and I'm not for abortion at all, but if abortion were illegal, then he can't choose for her to have an abortion at the same time if he's just as responsible for that baby.
Yeah, and when I see the war on men kind of blog posts and arguments that come up, one of the hardest things to argue against that is the way the terrible custody laws are set up, the way the terrible divorce laws, and thank God we don't have alimony in Texas, but for the states that do, the system is so tilted against men now. And it was an overcorrection because for most of American history, the divorce laws were tilted against women, without a no fault. I saw something else that kind of scared me. When we instituted no fault divorce back in 50s or 60s, I wish I remembered the date because I would sound smart. But the incidence of housewife suicide dropped immensely. So the takeaway from that is there are a lot of women who were stuck in a marriage they couldn't get out of, and their only way out was killing themselves. And so, as much as I disdain divorce, it's better than suicide. But we have way overcorrected for that now. And I've done shows, and you've probably heard me say on the James Show if you've listened for a while, if Miss Parker kicked me out of the house right now, if we just got a divorce, she would qualify for just thousands of dollars of government programs. She would get the food stamps. She would get the cash benefit. She would qualify for Section 8. All she has to do is kick me to the curb. And then the incentive once you're kicked to the curb, to just keep kicking the guy when he's down. You can, like, the women are overwhelmingly favored in custody situations. It's almost impossible for a guy to get custody. She has to be some sort of provable crackhead, which I've seen that happen. But also the amount of money that is taken from men as far as child support goes, and then what do they get in return for it? Nothing.
Oh yeah, every other weekend maybe.
Yeah. Well, what's your situation?
Oh, I'm married 25 years, got 4 kids, love them to death, and I would never jeopardize being a good father for anything else. So, but I'm still, thinking that while a man should step up and be a good father, regardless of how the woman is, I can see them getting taken advantage of too much. As far as responsibilities and everything. I just wanted to make sure it's an even playing field.
Yeah. Well, in a perfect world, people would only get pregnant if they were, with their soulmate and happily married and going to live happily ever after. And every kid gets to be born into a loving home. But that's just not the real world. And so it's so ugly watching this be worked out. And just how sad is it that you have to have a law to make these guys pay for it, because they should want to pay for it. They should want to pay for 100% of it. But if we're going to go Dutch, can we go Dutch on the benefits of, the childbearing process and the child having process after it's born? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I got a couple good calls lined up on this, but I also want to get back into this talk about there was another guy that's like Charlie Kirk that got shot at. Have you ever heard of Tim Pool? I'll tell you that story after we get done with the callers. Coming up next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Yeah, it's the ultimate splitting the bill story, isn't it? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. And the story in question, a law has been proposed in Iowa. It's got me thinking here. It's a good idea. I don't think I support it as a law, but we should all live like this, whether the law say so or not. It says the father of the child, if he gets a woman pregnant, should be responsible, legally speaking, for 50% of the medical cost incurred during the pregnancy. Okay. And you have to force guys to do that? Unfortunately, we live in a world where not everyone is married and in love when they get pregnant. Some people downright loathe each other. Some people, it's just a one-night stand. They have no real connection. Oops, babies. Well, you're on the hook for half of it. I think that's sad. I think that's sad that women are willing to give up the most precious gift that they have to some guy who won't even cover half the bill if the lady gets pregnant from said act. But we live in a world full of flawed people, and I don't know. It seems crazy that we even need a law like this, that we have enough of this happening that someone feels like it needs to be addressed. Because, I mean, it does. I just don't think this is the way to do it, but let's see what everyone else thinks. Oh, by the way, Rachel said over here on Facebook on the break, she said, would the man's health insurance pick up the cost? Because insurance companies would stop unwanted pregnancies faster than you know what? Faster than they are made? All right, with that, Randy Rockwall, you're on WBAP.
Hey, glad to talk to you. The person earlier who said, what about if there's multiple or unknown? Well, in that situation, what could be done is confront the guys. If one of the guys accepts it, then that's cool. That's great. If none of the guys accept it, or if there's only one guy and the guy denies it, then it's delayed until the baby is born, do a blood test, and then he has to pay afterwards. And I would tag on to it court fees if he initially denies it and is proven to be the father.
Damn, Randy, why aren't you in charge?
Hey, put me in charge. I'd love to work.
Yeah, do you remember like in the 90s when they had like the Jerry Springer and Maury Povich, you are not the father, and then they would dance real crazy on the stage and have a good old time? Or it'd be like you are the father, and then the woman would dance and there'd be like a fun little time. Remember how shocking that was to all of us in the 90s? Like, how could you be pregnant and not know? Or how could you be pregnant and lie to a guy? You know, both of those scenarios are were mind-blowing in the 1990s. We were like, look at this. This is like seeing a unicorn on TV. And now you don't even get ratings for that because it's so pedestrian. You know, and not to say like you did that or I did that or anyone in our family does that, but someone adjacent to us has done that.
Yes, absolutely. I love Jerry Springer one time made a comment saying in an interview, said he has no idea why anybody on earth ever accepts an invitation from him.
Oh, no kidding. You've got to be asking for it. It's like, oh no. Like the guys who, the woman's out there. It's like, I'm cheating on my husband with 4 different guys. And then they meet all the guys and then now let's meet the husband. And it's like, he walks out and he's finding out for the first time. Yeah, that's my nightmare is if you're invited to go on one of those shows and they don't tell you what's going on. Cause I would just immediately be like, Miss Parker, what did you do? What am I about to be surprised with? I don't think she's capable of such things, but that's the only example I had. Wade in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James. Just wanted to say I've got some experience with child support, not through myself, but through my son. He obviously impregnated a woman, and they tried to make it work out and live together, and she kicked him out 3 times in 2 months. Said just go on home. He later ended up in jail, unfortunately. Not a violent crime or anything like that.
I assume drugs.
No, alcohol, DWI.
Yeah, that counts.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It's an intoxicant. But anyway, when he got out, they went to child support, and child support. Obviously, he wasn't making money for 2.5 years. And then child support, gave a figure to him, and it was backloaded, which I understand, to the time of birth. But there is no real consideration for what the man tries to do. I'm kind of defending my son. I mean, he's been trying to work and everything else. He's got to pay, I think it's like $600 a month in child support, and he makes $3,100 a month. There's no consideration for what the mother makes versus what the father makes. I understand the father has a responsibility, and I'm all in.
Well, look, here's the scary part. You paint your son as, sort of on the lower rungs of society, but this is a problem that we see even when Mel Gibson got split up from his wife and he got drugged through the coals in a custody battle. Like, you don't think Mel Gibson's a fit father? You're going to keep Mel Gibson away from his own kids? The other one was Johnny Depp in his divorce situation, and he just got absolutely raped. So you can be in the bottom class, you can be in the middle class, you can be in the upper class. If you're a man, a woman can just destroy you with divorce courts.
I agree with that. It's not divorce, obviously.
Yeah,
it was just,
you're right. Family planning courts. I'm sorry, I'm not a lawyer. I mix up my words sometimes, but I'm glad y'all give me a little grace. You understand my intent there, don't you? But I love the conversation that this law brings up, and thank you for calling Wade in Fort Worth. Because, okay, I like the idea of the guy being legally responsible for half of the cost, but I think he should also get roped into half of the non-financial aspects of child rearing too. And if this is a guy who keeps up with his payments, he should at least get 50-50 custody. If this is a guy who actually follows through and keeps up with his payments, he should, like, if the woman decides halfway through the pregnancy and her second or third meeting with the doctor that she doesn't want to go through it and she wants to have an abortion, he should have a say-so in that as well. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Because I have a sort of another abortion story tied in with the gun story coming up next, but it's along the same lines as this, but more of a cussing at the media moment. Stick around, more James Show on the way. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. It's our 38th annual Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. We are in the home stretch now, and what we are looking for is monetary donations. And you think, listen, Parker, I'm not rich. I'm not one of the guys you're talking to. Leave that to some guy that's driving around in a Rolls Royce, lighting his cigars with $100 bills. No, you can spare $20. You could probably spare $40, but I'll just hit you for 20. And if you feel compelled to do so, if you feel a little conviction right now during this live spot, there's an easy way for you to feel better. It's by doing the right thing. Go to WBAP.com. Donate $20. You can use the WBAP app, or you can text the word KIDS, KIDS, to 800-228 or 288-9227. I'll say it again, 800-288-9227. And you can be the angel that makes a Christmas miracle for some young kid in North Texas. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You're home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. We're talking about an Iowa law. I like the conversation it sparks. I like the tenor of the law. I don't think it should be a law, but I don't think it should have to be a law, and it breaks my heart that that's probably should be a law. But it says if you get a woman pregnant, you're on the hook for 50% of the medical costs during the pregnancy. Isn't it sad that we need that? Isn't that pathetic? Isn't it sad that our daughters, our sisters, our cousins, our family members, our friends would be willing to reproduce with a guy who thinks so little about them that they wouldn't even help out with the pregnancy cost? Yikes. That's what bothers me about this story. This is Evan in Frisco. You're on WBAP. Hey, Evan.
Hey, James. Thanks for taking my call. You kind of touched on it before your break in regards to the father with the 50%, I guess, custody or visitation, as well as all the bills. And I went through that from experience in my divorce where my ex and I agreed on a 50-50 custody, but she wanted full child support like we weren't doing a 50-50 split. And that's the only reason we went to court was because of money. So I think that if this is going to come out of the gates with the father paying half of the medical and doctor's bills during the pregnancy, then it should just go ahead and roll on up to dad automatically getting 50% visitation as well as paying 50% of the medical until, or, you know, whatever, all expenses for the child until something else comes along.
I absolutely love that. Here's what I think they should do, though, because what's actually best for the kid is if they cohabitate. Now, I know they're not getting along very well, and they might not be soulmates, but we could just make a legal contract here where they're going to agree to share the cost 50-50. They're going to live together. They're going to have the custody 50-50, and they're going to, you know, sort of combine their efforts for the betterment of the kids. But we already have that, Evan in Frisco. It's called marriage.
Well,
I know that's it's so sad to talk about.
Yep.
It's so sad because the dirty little secret here, Evan, is you and I get called racist, sexist, bait, homophobe. We're just driven by hate. That's all they do. Donald Trump is just driving up hate. And really all we want to do is for people to fall in love and get married, make a family. Stay together, have some kids, have a lot of kids, have enough kids to at least replace us and not die off like some sort of failing minnow population. But yeah, the solution here is, not to sound like a dork, but love.
Yeah, I mean, you know, things aren't ideal. So, in a perfect world, that's what would happen. And there's plenty of dads that want to be fathers out there, and there's some that don't want to have anything to do. And for the latter, you know what? If they don't want to be involved in their kids' life, then fine, to make them pay the maximum amount of child support since mom's going to do all the work, and they're not. There's not going to be somewhat of a little bit of a father-child relationship.
In the perfect world, that wouldn't happen, but too bad we don't live in a perfect world, Evan. All right, that's going to about do it for the James Show. Man, I feel so down now. I'm going to have to go watch a Hallmark movie when I get home. About some people falling in love. But listen, on tomorrow's show, I can already tell you one of the stories I'm going to do is there's a guy that killed himself with a gun accident. It's not really that big of a deal on its own. But we're going to review the way these things are reported because in your entire life, have you heard one report in the news about a woman who died from a botched abortion? Now, does it never happen or does it never make the news? Why is that? Because you know it happens. It does happen. Just spoiler alert. It doesn't happen very often. Slightly less often than accidental gun deaths, but it does happen. Why does one make news and the other doesn't? Yeah. Come back for that answer tomorrow on The James Show. In the meantime, if you need more James Show action, go check out the podcast and stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.